أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، بارئ الخلائق أجمعين، باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين، واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك وأناخت برحلك. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا، ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم، يرفع الله الذين آمنوا منكم والذين أوتوا العلم درجات. صدق الله العلي العظيم. There is no religion that emphasizes on learning and scholarship as much as Islam does. The Quran is full of verses that praise those who seek knowledge, praise scholars, and encourage Muslims to seek knowledge and to raise their education. There is no other religion that says seeking knowledge is equivalent to worship. When you seek knowledge, it's as if you are worshipping, or rather it's not as if, you are worshipping Allah Azza wa Jal by seeking knowledge. So we see several verses and several narrations from Ahlul Bayt that emphasize on the importance of learning, on the importance of scholarship, on being scholars, this value, this great value to scholarship. In one verse, Allah Azza wa Jal says, هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون? Do those who know are equivalent to those who do not know? There's no equivalence between them. There's no comparison between scholars and non-scholars. In the eyes of Allah and in the eyes of people, scholars have a higher status. They carry knowledge, they carry wisdom, they carry understanding. Allah wants worship that is based upon knowledge and reason. He wants worship from us, to worship Him, to obey Him based on understanding. Imagine if you were to visit, for example, a world leader, a president, a prime minister, but you don't know who this person is. You are told that we are visiting someone. And you go in and you greet the person and you sit with him or her, and then you leave and you don't know who this person was. And then you realize that this person was a president, a prime minister, a marja', or the CEO of a company. This person is an important person. You'll have regrets, because you will say, if I had known this was a president, I would have dressed better, I would have spoken better, I would have known what to say and how to speak and how to behave. A person who worships Allah and obeys Him with understanding is different from a person who worships Allah but doesn't understand Allah, doesn't know Allah, has very minimal knowledge of Allah. Their worship will be different. The quality of their worship. One will be a worship based on understanding, and the other is a worship based on ignorance. هل يستوي الذين يعلمون والذين لا يعلمون? Do those who know, are they equivalent to those who don't know? Of course not. In another verse, إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. Surely those who fear Allah, those who are God-fearing, are the scholars. إِنَّمَا يَخْشَى اللَّهَ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ الْعُلَمَاء. It is scholars who fear Allah. They are God-fearing. Because a scholar would know that Allah is all merciful, but at the same time, He punishes the evildoers. He knows, or she knows, that the same way Allah has created heaven for the good doers, He has created hellfire for the evildoers. And that a mu'min should live with both hope and fear. Al-mu'min bayna al-khawfi wal-raja. A mu'min should have a balance, as we talked about in a previous lecture, about having a balance in life and being moderate. And that Islam teaches us moderation. A mu'min has to have hope and fear. And this can only happen, this can only come from a scholar, a person who knows Allah Azza wa Jal. And that doesn't just rely on heaven and says that Allah is all forgiving. A scholar also knows that Allah punishes and He has a hellfire for those who disobey Him. We believe that seeking knowledge is mandatory. It's an obligation. It's not a leisure. It's not something that is a choice. For Muslims, they have to seek knowledge. طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. Or in another hadith, اطلب العلم ولو بالصين فإن طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم. Seek knowledge even if it's in China. Today, all you have to do is get on a plane and you'll end up in China. Of course, not during this time, but at any normal times when we could travel, although that it seems that that was a very long time ago since we're able to travel, but hopefully, inshallah, things will go back to normal and we'll be able to travel. Traveling to China is simple, but back then, China was the farthest point away from Mecca or Medina. Rasulullah was trying to tell them that even if you have to go to the farthest point on earth to seek knowledge, do it because it's mandatory. اطلب العلم ولو في الصين. And here, Rasulullah is not necessarily talking about religious knowledge of religion. No, but all kinds of knowledge, even mathematics, biology, science, chemistry, physics, engineering. Because what was in China? There was no knowledge of religion in China. Rasulullah is telling us that all sorts of knowledge should be sought. Of course, useful kind, because there's some kind that are not useful. Because most kinds of knowledge will take you closer to Allah. They will make you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal. Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says, اطلب التعلم ولو بخوض اللجج وشق المهج. He says that even if you were to die in the path of seeking knowledge, if you're told that there's a dangerous path to going to seek knowledge, it's dangerous, do it. Even if you have to ride waves, ride in the ocean, and there is waves that are dangerous, do it. Even if you have to risk your life to seek knowledge, that's how important seeking knowledge is. That even if it requires sacrificing our life. Seeking knowledge is a virtue according to all people, according to all races and nationalities, according to people from all religions. This is not just Islam. Ask anyone from anywhere and tell them that I'd like to get an education, I'd like to seek knowledge, and they'll tell you, good for you. Good for you. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is a virtue. Look at what Imam Ali alayhi salam tells Kumail, his companion, Kumail ibn Ziyad, who narrates Dua Kumail. He says, Ya Kumail, al-ilmu khayrun min al-mal. Knowledge is better than money and wealth. Al-ilmu yahrusuka wa anta tahrus al-mal. Knowledge protects you, guards you, but you guard your money. You guard your wealth. You put your money in investments, in banks. you invest, you buy lands, you invest in the smart stock market to protect your money and to let your money grow. We're always protecting our money, while money is supposed to protect us. Why do we want money? Why do we need money? Supposedly it protects us, it gets us protection, material protection. But it has become the other way around. We protect our money. We guard our money. We make sure that our money is not stolen. But knowledge protects us. Knowledge protects us from hellfire. Knowledge protects us from shaitan. Knowledge protects us from our nafs. Knowledge protects us from sinning. Knowledge protects us from worldly evils and harms and dangers, from viruses, from illnesses, from diseases. Look at today. Look at those who put themselves in the face of danger of this virus, and look at those who protect themselves. It's a matter of knowledge, of having knowledge and not having knowledge. Those who go on the beach, those who go swimming while there's an epidemic or a pandemic going on, this is not lack of knowledge. This is lack of wisdom. Those who guard themselves and do their best to guard themselves from a virus, or they try to find a cure, this is knowledge. Knowledge protects, while money is protected. So which one's better? To go after wealth or to go after knowledge? Which is the real investment? Which will really protect us and help us? It is knowledge. Al-mal تنقصه النفقة. When you spend money, it's decreased. While when you spend your knowledge, when you spread your knowledge, see, spreading your wealth means it will decrease. When you go out shopping, when you go on a shopping spree, your wealth will be decreased. But when you spread your knowledge knowledge will increase. Knowledge increases when spreading it, because you are teaching, you are remembering, you are thinking, you are contemplating over what you teach. So your knowledge will increase and not decrease. With money, the more you spend, the more you spread it, the more it will decrease. That's the difference. المال تنقصه النفقة والعلم يزكو على الإنفاق. As for knowledge, it will increase. The more you spend it, the more you spread it, the more you share it, it will increase. But your money, the more you share it, it will decrease. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, العلماء ورثة الأنبياء. Scholars are the heirs of prophets. يحبهم أهل السماء. The people of the skies love them, meaning angels. ويستغفر لهم الحيتان في البحر. The fish, the sharks, the whales in the ocean, they seek forgiveness for those who seek knowledge. I remember one of my teachers once said that Allah wants the seeker of knowledge to relax, to have nothing to worry about. You seek knowledge, and there's animals seeking repentance for you, seeking forgiveness for you. All you have to do is seek knowledge, and Allah will make sure that others will seek forgiveness for you. يستغفر لهم الحيتان في البحر إذا ماتوا إلى يوم القيامة. When they die, the fish in the sea will seek forgiveness for them until the day of judgment. They will continuously seek forgiveness for the scholar, for the seeker of knowledge who died. العلماء مصابيح الأرض. Rasulullah states, or one of the Imams states, مصابيح الأرض. They are the lanterns on earth. You need a lantern to see your way. Imagine a street without lights. Imagine a city without lights. Masabih are lanterns because previously they would use lanterns. Your lantern is what allows you to go forward, to walk in the streets, to move forward. It guides you, it helps you see. Ulama help us see. They are our guidance. They are those who guide people. They help people reach Allah Azza wa Jal. Whether they are scholars of religion, of course this is obvious. Ulama of fiqh, of usul al-din, ulama of tafsir. They are sources of guidance. There are lanterns, but even other scholars, even scholars of biology, even scholars of physics, even scholars of math, because they let us wonder, they let us discover Allah's amazing creation. They also lead us to Allah Azza wa Jal. Hadith tell us that knowledge is greater than worship. A scholar is more valuable in the eyes of Allah than a worshipper. This is the status of scholarship in Islam, especially knowledge of religion. A scholar of religion is more valuable in the eyes of Allah than a worshipper. See this hadith by Rasulullah. قَلِيلُ الْعِلْمِ خَيْرٌ مِّن كَثِيرِ الْعِبَادَةِ. A little amount of knowledge is better than a big amount of worship. You pray all night, you fast all day. But if you were to spend an hour a night reading something that increases your knowledge and makes you closer to Allah Azza wa Jal, that is more valuable in the eyes of Allah than spending the entire night in worship. Now imagine those who combine between the two. Subhanallah. They have best of both worlds. Those who seek knowledge and then they put their books away and pray what is remaining of the night. I remember once I was reading a book by one of the contemporary maraji. I remember in the footnotes, this is something that he wrote maybe 40 years ago. He was writing. In the footnote he said, when I reached this position, it was 4 a.m. I put my book away and there was maybe 30 minutes or an hour till Salatul Fajr. I put my writing away and I stood for Salatul Layl and I prayed. And I told him this. I told him, for me, this was such a beautiful lesson to read this in the footnote of your book. That I was writing in the middle of the night. Imagine, till 4 a.m. he was writing. And then he puts his writing away and he prays Salatul Layl until the time of dawn, of Fajr. He joins between knowledge, ilm and ibadah. Knowledge and worship. By Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam, he says, تذاكر العلم تذاكر العلم ساعة خير تذاكر العلم ساعة خير من قيام ليلة. To seek knowledge and to study for 1 hour. 1 hour doesn't necessarily mean 60 minutes, each minute containing 60 seconds. No, sa'a means a certain amount of time. It could be 2 hours, it could be 3 hours. To seek knowledge for a certain amount of time is better than praying all night, praying Salatul Layl and reciting Quran all night long until Fajr. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam states, نوم مع علم خير من صلاة على جهل. To sleep with knowledge is better than to remain awake worshipping but out of ignorance. Subhanallah. Sleep. Even if you didn't pray Salatul Layl, even if you didn't pray. Of course, the Rasulullah and the Ahlul Bayt, they're not telling us not to pray Salatul Layl. They're not telling us choose knowledge and abandon worship. We should not mistake in them. We should not misunderstand them. No, do both. But how great is worship? How excellent is worship? How rewarding is worship? But seeking knowledge is greater. It has it is more rewarding. This is what the Imam is trying to say. This is what Rasulullah is trying to say. He's not saying abandon worship. Don't pray Salatul Layl. No. But he's saying, if you were not to worship, but you sleep with certainty and knowledge, it is better than staying up all night and worshipping, but out of ignorance. Out of ignorance. Imagine seeing a world leader, for example, like Nelson Mandela, who passed away. But during his life, if you were to see him for 5 minutes, knowing who he is that better? Or meeting him for 2 hours and not knowing who he is, and then you discover who he is after he's gone, after he's left? Which one's better? To meet him for 5 minutes knowing who he is, or to meet him for 2 hours and not know who he is? Of course the 5 minutes are better. because you know who this person is. You will give him the appreciation that he deserves. While to meet him for 2 hours, you don't know who this person is. So you don't ask him the right questions. You don't give him the respect that he deserves. Hence, knowledge is better than worship. In another hadith by Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says, قَلِيلُ الْعَمَلِ مَعَ كَثِيرِ الْعِلْمِ. Little amount of amal, actions, worship, with a lot of knowledge, خَيْرٌ مِنْ كَثِيرِ الْعَمَلِ مَعَ قَلِيلٍ مِنَ الْعِلْمِ. Or قَلِيلِ الْعِلْمِ. Is better than a lot of acts of worship, but with little knowledge. You see? And another hadith, and I'm mentioning these hadith to show how much the Ahlul Bayt emphasized on seeking knowledge. How much they encouraged their companions and followers to seek knowledge, to be educated, not to worship out of ignorance, not to worship without knowing who Allah is, what Islam is all about. Rasulullah says, طَلَبُ الْعِلْمِ أَفْضَلُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ مِنَ الصَّلَاةِ وَالصِّيَامِ وَالْحَجِّ وَالْجِهَادِ فِي سَبِيلِ تَعَالَى. Seeking knowledge is better than salah and hajj and fasting. And although these things are very important and they are wajib, and we should not take them lightly, but to seek knowledge is better than that salah that is recommended, or fasting that is recommended, or the hajj that is recommended. Not the wajib, of course. Not the wajib salah and sawm and hajj. This is how important seeking knowledge is. In another hadith, and we're still talking about the virtue of seeking knowledge, Rasulullah says, وَالَّذِي نَفْسُ مُحَمَّدٍ بِيَدِهِ صلى الله عليه وسلم. I swear by the one who my spirit is in his hand. لَعَالِمٌ وَاحِدٌ أَشَدُّ عَلَى إِبْلِيسٍ مِنْ أَلْفِ عَابِدٍ لأن العابد لنفسه والعالم لغيره. One scholar is more valuable than 1,000 worshippers. 1,000 worshippers. Why? Because the worshippers, they're benefiting whom? When they pray and they fast, who's benefited? Themselves. And only themselves. But a scholar benefits others. He doesn't benefit himself only. He benefits others. He teaches. He educates. He makes people aware. He causes people to come to heaven and run away from hell. He rescues people spiritually and religiously. A hadith by Imam Rida alayhi salam. He says, يُقَالُ لِلْعَابِدِ يَوْمِ الْقِيَامَةِ. A worshipper on the Day of Judgment will be told, نِعْمَ الرَّجُلْ كُنْتَ هِمَّتُكَ ذَاتَ نَفْسِكَ. What a good person you were. You cared for yourself. وَكَفَيْتَ النَّاسَ مَؤُونَتَكَ. And you did good for you, and you were independent of others. You weren't a burden on others. فَادْخُلِ الْجَنَّةِ. Enter paradise. You're a good person, you're independent, you weren't a burden over others, enter paradise. إلا أن الفقيه من أفاض على الناس خيره وأنقذهم من أعدائهم. As for a jurist, as for a scholar, faqih, he's the one who brings good to people and he rescues them from their enemies. وَيُقَالُ لِلْفَقِيهِ. But when a faqih enters paradise, something else will be said to him. Not like what was said to the worshipper. It will be said to him, يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِلُ لَأَيْتَامِ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ. Oh, the one who took care of the orphans of the family of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Meaning whom? Us, the Shia. We the Shia, we're the orphans of Rasulullah. We're the orphans of the Ahlul Bayt. They are our parents, and we are their orphan children. Aytam Ali Muhammad are the Shia. We are the orphans of the Ahlul Bayt. Oh, the one who took care of the orphans of Ahlul Bayt. Al-Hadi لِضُعَفَاءِ مُحِبِّيهِمْ وَمَوَالِيهِمْ. He who guided those who are weak mentally and in knowledge. You guided them. قف. Before you enter paradise, قف حتى تشفع لكل من أخذ عنك وتعلم منك. Wait, before you enter paradise, you can intercede on behalf of anyone you guided and you taught, you can take them along with you to paradise. How beautiful is this? A worshipper only goes into heaven by himself, but a scholar takes everyone whom he taught, whom he inspired, whom he motivated, whom he guided. He's allowed to take them with him into paradise. SubhanAllah. This is a scholar. Islam also teaches us, my dear friends, on the topic of scholarship and learning. Islam also teaches us to think critically. Islam doesn't want parrots to parrot others, to hear something and parrot it to others. No, but to think and ponder. A hadith says, رُبَّ حَامِلُ فِقْهٍ وَلَيْسَ بِفَقِيهٍ. Someone may carry knowledge but isn't a scholar. He carries fiqh, but he's not a faqih. How is this possible? He's like a tape recorder. He's memorized. He's memorized verses, he's memorized ahadith, but he hasn't thought over them. He hasn't contemplated over them. He hasn't thought about them critically. And then the hadith says, وَرُبَّ حَامِلُ فِقْهٍ إِلَى مَنْ هُوَ أَفْقَهُ مِنْهِ. However, it could be the case where you carry fiqh and knowledge to someone more knowledgeable than you. Is this possible? We carry knowledge to someone who's more knowledgeable than myself? How is this possible? I'm carrying the knowledge to him. How could he be more knowledgeable than me? Through critical thinking, through pondering, through thinking, through analyzing. I will narrate a hadith that I heard from the Ahlul Bayt, or I read in Al-Kafi, for example. لا ضرر ولا ضرار في الإسلام. There is no harm and there is no harming in Islam. But I don't think about it. I don't contemplate over it. I don't analyze this hadith. I narrate it to someone else. Someone else will think about it, contemplate over it, and then we'll reach a conclusion that in Islam there are no harmful laws. If a law causes harm, then it does not apply. For example, fasting. Fasting is mandatory. But if it becomes harmful to someone's health, that person needs not fast. You see how this person analyzed and reached a conclusion and derived a law from this hadith? Islam wants us to be critical thinkers, to think critically, and not to parrot and not to accept everything that we hear. The Quran invites us to think, to ponder, to contemplate, to analyze. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ. Do they not ponder over the Quran? See, it doesn't say do they not memorize the Quran or do they not read the Quran. There's verses that tell us to read. But we have more verses that tell us to ponder over the Quran, to think over the Quran, to analyze what's in the Quran, to think over it and contemplate over it. أَفَلَا يَعْقِلُونَ. Do they not think? Do they not think rationally, reasonably, logically? The Quran tells us to listen, to keep an open mind, to listen to opinions and thoughts and choose the best. الَّذِينَ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقَوْلَ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. Those who listen to the word, to opinions. They don't close their ears and cover their heads like the people of Nuh. جعلوا أصابعهم في آذانهم واستغشوا ثيابهم وأصروا واستكبروا استكبارا. The people of Nuh, they would put their fingers in their ears and cover their heads. See no evil, hear no evil, as they say. No. Islam teaches us, the Quran teaches us to listen, to see the different opinions and then choose the best. What's the best? The opinion that is most compatible with the Quran. The opinion that is most compatible with the teachings of Ahlul Bayt. The opinion that is most compatible with logic and reason. فَيَتَّبِعُونَ أَحْسَنَهُ. Hadith says, خُذِ الْحِكْمَةِ مِمَّنْ أَتَاكَ بِهَا. Take wisdom from anyone that gives you wisdom. It could be a polytheist, it could be a pagan. But take the wisdom from him. Don't look at his faith and religion. If he's saying wisdom, take the wisdom. خذ الحكمة من أفواه الرجال. And another ayah. Take the wisdom from the mouths of خذ الحكمة ولو من مشرك. Take wisdom even if it's from a pagan, as long as it's wisdom. وانظر إلى ما قال ولا تنظر إلى من قال. Subhanallah. He says, don't look at what is being said and don't look at who is saying it. Look at what is being said. Don't look at who is saying it. Doesn't matter who is saying it. Could be anyone. Could be people from different faiths. Could be a Christian or a Jew or a Buddhist or a Sikh or a Hindu. Look if it's wisdom or it's not wisdom. If it's wisdom, take it. And if it's not wisdom, don't take it. Even if if it was from a Muslim, even if it was from a follower of Ahlul Bayt. But if he's saying falsehood, if he's saying things that are not wise, don't take it. Another hadith. This was by Al-Masih salamullah alayhi. Jesus Christ. We have a hadith from him. He says, خُذِ الْحَقَّ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْبَاطِلِ. Take truth from the people of falsehood. وَلَا تَأْخُذِ الْبَاطِلَ مِنْ أَهْلِ الْحَقِّ. But do not take falsehood from the people of truth. The people of falsehood can say the truth once in a while. And the people of the truth can say falsehood once in a while. Take truth from the people of falsehood, but do not take falsehood from the people of truth. كُونُوا نُقَادَ الْكَلَامِ. Be critical of what you hear. كُونُوا نُقَادَ الْكَلَامِ. Be critical. Critically assess what you hear. Critically think over what you hear. Analyze what you hear. Think over it. Contemplate over it. It makes sense. It's compatible with the teachings of the Quran and the overall spirit of the Quran and the Sunnah. Take it. If it contradicts with the Quran and the Sunnah and reason, you reject it. كُونُوا نُقَادَ الْكَلَامِ. Analyze what you hear. How many people do we have in our communities? How many of our youth that analyze what they hear? They assess what they hear. They think objectively and they don't parrot. This is scholarship. This is knowledge. Knowledge and scholarship, my dear friends, is not about what you've memorized. It's not about how many books you've read. You could read 100 books, but you're still not a scholar. You're not a learned person. But if you think critically, you could take one piece of information and think over it critically and analyze it and assess it, you'll be considered a scholar. By learning how to critically think. This is what Islam wants from us. Also, what kind of knowledge should we seek? Islam wants us to seek knowledge, to be educated, to be knowledgeable. But which kind of knowledge? First of all, religious knowledge. Know your Lord. Know your Prophet. Know your prophets. Know your Imams. Know your Quran. Know your theology. Know the Imam of your time. من مات ولم يعرف إمام زمانه مات ميتة الجاهلية. He who dies not knowing the Imam of his time will die a pagan death. Know your Quran. Know your laws. Know your fiqh. Know the laws of salah. Know the laws of fasting. العلم بالدين التفقه وليتفقهوا في الدين. Let them understand religion. التفقه means to understand. It's not memory. It's not about memorizing. Some of us were obsessed with memorization. Some schools of thought, they memorize the Quran, but they don't understand the Quran. They don't understand the Quran. Hence, Mawla becomes friend. Mawla, which means guardianship, to them it becomes friends. They've memorized the Quran, but they haven't understood the Quran. Memorization is good, but understanding is better. To understand the Quran, to understand faith, to understand the religion. Even if you haven't memorized the hadith of Ahlul Bayt, but memorize them, understand them. To understand them is better than to memorize them. لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ. So first, religious knowledge of religion. Two, any knowledge that is useful and can benefit humanity. You might say, is there knowledge that doesn't doesn't benefit humanity? There could be, although most knowledge that is out there at universities, at colleges, most of the specializations, they're good. In a way or another, they could benefit humanity. We can learn from the past to improve our future. But there are some things that are useless. For example, the tribes that existed 5,000 years ago, the kinds of food that they were eating, what was their favorite food? What will this benefit us? Unless it has a benefit in medicine. Maybe it could benefit us in medicine. However, there's some knowledge that won't add anything, won't benefit anything. Avoid that knowledge. But any other knowledge, it's recommended to seek. Medicine, biology, chemistry, mathematics, the different fields of mathematics, algebra, trigonometry, calculus, statistics. Seek knowledge. Biology, chemistry, physics, engineering. There's new sciences today. There's so many doors of knowledge. IT, artificial intelligence, law, the different kinds of law. Seek knowledge. Imam Ali alayhi salam says there's 4 kinds of knowledge. Al-ulumu arba'a. Al-fiqhu lil-adyan. To know religions, specifically our religion, to understand our religion. وَالطِّبُّ لِلْأَبْدَانِ. الْفِقْهُ لِلْأَدْيَانِ. To understand for religions, or to understand religions, or to understand our religion. وَالْطِبُّ لِلْأَبْدَانِ. And to know medicine. وَالْنَحْوُ لِلْلِسَانِ. To know nahu, grammar, so that when you speak, you speak properly without mistakes in your language. You say inna Allaha wa malaikatahu. You don't say inna Allahu, for example. Inna Allaha. Wal nujum li ma'rifati al azman. And the knowledge of stars, to know the dates and to know the timings. To know the timings and dates. Is it the beginning of the month or is it at the end of the month? So basically to know the times, to know the dates, maybe even geography. These are 4 types of knowledge. Of course, these were the types of knowledge. Knowledge of religion, this applies to all times. But طب الأبدان واللسان والنجوم للزمان, these were the most featured knowledge at the time. We could expand on different sciences that go back to these. For example, with nahu, you would need sarf as well to speak properly. With medicine, you would need biology, biochemistry, chemistry itself, maybe some physics, and so on and so forth. This is all knowledge. This is all useful knowledge. This is all knowledge that will bring us closer to Allah Azza wa Jal and draw us near to Allah and make us better human beings and make our lives better. When you seek knowledge, that means you've specialized in a field. That means you can help human beings. As a doctor, you can help human beings. As a lawyer, you could help human beings. As an engineer, you could help human beings. We help one another. We help humanity. And this is always good. Seeking knowledge has etiquettes, my dear friends. There's etiquettes to seeking knowledge. Not anyone could just come and seek knowledge. The intentions have to be pure. I seek knowledge, I come to Hawza, I seek fiqh for the sake of Allah. Sincerely, because I want to be closer to Allah. Because I want to get people closer to Allah. I want to get mu'mineen, followers of Ahlul Bayt, closer to Allah. I want to help those who do not follow Ahlul Bayt to open their eyes to the school of thought of Ahlul Bayt. That is my intention. Not fame, not popularity, not to be famous, not to have a large following, not money, not seeking attention. This should not be the aim of seeking knowledge. If this is the aim, then it's destined to failure. It's destined to failure. Among the etiquettes of seeking knowledge is to act upon your knowledge. To act upon your knowledge. To act upon what we know. We don't just seek knowledge for others, to teach others and to preach to others, but we act upon our knowledge sincerely for Allah Azza wa Jal. From the beginning to the end, this is the difference between learning and scholarship in Islam and learning and scholarship in other religions and other cultures. In Islam, it has to be associated with qurba ilallah. Seeking knowledge and scholarship has to be associated with sincerity, with intention, with pure intentions, and not with anything else. This is what makes learning and scholarship in Islam different from all other religions and cultures. Imam Sadiq says, "Man ta'allama lillah," he who seeks knowledge for the sake of Allah. "Wa amila lillah," and who acts for the sake of Allah. "Wa allama lillah," and who teaches for the sake of Allah. "Du'ya fi malakut as-samawati 'azima." He will be declared in the skies as a great one. فَقِيلَ تَعَلَّمَ لِلَّهِ وَعَمِلَ لِلَّهِ وَعَلِمَ لِلَّهِ. And it will be declared that he or she sought knowledge for Allah and acted for Allah and taught for Allah. This is extremely important. That the first path to seeking knowledge, to scholarship and learning, is to make sure that Allah is with us the entire time. Because knowledge without sincerity can be dangerous. There are some who seek knowledge for fame, for popularity, to gain followers, to make money. They do it for dunya, not for akhirah. This has no benefit. This could be dangerous. Those who have knowledge but don't have sincerity, they could be destructive. They could harm people. They could use their knowledge in manipulative ways to harm people. Those who develop weapons of mass destruction, what are they? They're ignorant people. They have no knowledge. They're scholars. A person who can build weapons of mass destruction, those who build nuclear weapons, those who build a nuclear bomb, they're physicists, they're scholars. But look how destructive their knowledge is. What good did their knowledge do for them? Where did it get them? Because it was not associated with sincerity, with seeking knowledge for the sake of Allah, for the sake of the akhirah, for the sake of humanity, to benefit humanity. That was not their intention from day one. Listen to this hadith by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, "Al-alim idha arada bi'ilmihi wajha Allah ta'ala habahu kulla shay." Habahu kullu shay. He who seeks knowledge, a scholar who seeks knowledge for the sake of Allah, everything and everyone will fear him, will fear the scholar. وَإِذَا أَرَادَ أَنْ يَكْنُزَ بِهِ الْكُنُوزِ هَابَ مِنْ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ. But rather, if he seeks knowledge to gain money, to gain wealth, to gain power, to get positions, then he will be scared of everyone. It will flip on him. A person who seeks knowledge for the sake of Allah, people will fear him. People will fear his status. People will fear his power. But if he doesn't fear Allah, he will fear everyone else. My dear friends, no one can tell us that Islam doesn't care for learning and scholarship. Look at the famous scholars in Islam. Look at the famous scientists and scholars. At a time when the world was living in ignorance, the world was living in the dark ages. Europe was in the dark ages. Islam had scientists. Islam had scholars. Who founded algebra and trigonometry? Who founded the most important sciences, even when it comes to biology, even when it comes to chemistry, even when it comes to physics? The compass that was used to discover the new world, America, who made the compass? Ibn Sina, the famous physician, his book Al-Qanun fi al-Tibb, the canon on medicine, for centuries, almost 4 centuries, it was used in Europe. Europeans were living off of Muslim achievements. They were living off of their scientific achievements in medicine, in math, in science. People would travel all across the world to come and study under Ibn Sina, a Muslim scientist, a Muslim philosopher, a Muslim physician. Islam produced. Muslims produced. Muslims were scientists. Muslims concentrated on learning and scholarship. They were the scholars of the world. It was the Muslims who translated books from Latin and Greek to other languages. It was all because of Muslim accomplishments. Where are we today? Where's learning and scholarship amongst Muslims today? How many scientists do we have? How many physicists do we have? How many theories on science do we have coming from the Islamic world and from the Islamic community? How many people do we have that are producing theories and tests and experimenting in science and biology, in medicine, in physics and chemistry? Today we have a crisis, COVID-19. There's a race to find the correct shot, the immunization. Will Muslims discover the immunization? It's very far-fetched. We can only pray and hope. But it will come out from the Western world. It will not come out from the East. Why? Why do we lack in scholarship? Why do we lack in learning? Why do we lack in science, in math, in medicine, in biology? Why do we lack in IT? Why do we lack in artificial intelligence? Why is it that some countries in the East live off of the achievements of the West? Whatever discoveries are made in the West, it comes to the East. Why do we lack? This is something upsetting. This is not what Islam wanted from us, nor what the Quran wanted from us. We come to Karbala. In Karbala, Imam Hussein alayhi salam had all kinds of companions. He had youth, he had women, he had children, he had the elderly. And they were all of various stages of knowledge and social statuses, but he also had scholars with him. Habib ibn Mudahar. Habib ibn Mudahar was a scholar, was a jurist, faqih. Imam Hussein alayhi salam, in his letter to Habib ibn Mudahar, he wrote him, Ayyuha al-faqih, ya faqih, O jurist. Yet this jurist sacrificed himself for the sake of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Habib ibn Mudahar was among the companions of Rasulullah. And he was among the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the close companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to the point that he taught him ilm al-balaya wal-manaya, the knowledge of when a person will die and where will he die. This is a knowledge that Imam Ali gave it to special companions and disciples, like Maytham al-Tammar, unlike Habib ibn Mudahar. He didn't give it to others. Habib ibn Mudahar would recite the Quran in one night. Every night he would complete an entire khatma of the Quran. Such an individual, Habib ibn Mudahar. What a great individual. Imam Hussein alayhi salam wrote him a letter. Habib ibn Mudahar at that day was 75 years old, an old man. 75. Yet Imam Hussein wrote him a letter, asking him to join the battle, asking him to join the fight. And the man did not hesitate, although he was old. This is a day for him to retire, an age for him to retire. Yet he did not retire from the support of the Ahlul Bayt, from Rasulullah, to Amir al-Mu'mineen, to Imam al-Hasan, to Imam al-Hussein. Habib ibn Mudahar was the head of a tribe, the tribe of Bani Asad. He was their head. He did not say that I'm the head of a tribe, people should be fighting on my behalf. People should fight for me. But instead, Habib ibn Mudahar chose to fight for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Imam Hussein wrote him a letter saying, من الحسين ibn Ali إلى الرجل الفقيه Habib ibn Mudahar. From Hussein, the son of Ali, to the jurist, the scholar, Habib ibn Mudahar. أما بعد يا حبيب فأنت تعلم قرابتنا من رسول الله. And he invited him to join the battlefield. His wife, he was sitting in his house in Kufa. His wife told him, "What have you decided? What will you do?" He said, I would like to join the battle. But what about you? She said, "What about me? You're worried about me? You leave the grandson of Rasulullah waiting for your help, but you worry about me? Do not worry about me, ya Habib." Of course, Habib wanted to test her faith and iman. He left Kufa and he came towards Karbala. He met Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He came down from his horse. He met Rasulullah. He met the son of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He saw Imam Hussein. Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha, she saw someone approach them, but she didn't know who it was. She saw Imam Hussein and his companions. They got up and they greeted someone, but she didn't know who it was. So she asked, "Who is the person joining us? Who is joining our camp? Who is the newcomer?" They told her, "This is Habib ibn Mudahir al-Asadi." She said, "Go to him and say that I send my salams to him. قل له زينب بنت علي تسلم عليك." Tell him that Zainab, the daughter of Ali ibn Abi Talib, sends her salams to you. When the messenger came to Habib ibn Mudahir, he said, "Zainab bint Ali tusallimu alayk." The narration says that Habib ibn Mudahir began slapping his face. He said, "Man akunu ana wa Zainab bint Ali tusallimu alay." Who am I for Zainab, the daughter of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to send her salams upon me? On the night of Ashura, Sayyidah Zainab salamullahi alayha, she called for Habib ibn Mudahir. She wanted to speak to him. When he came, she said, "Ya Am, my uncle, Ya Am, Habib ibn Mudahir, لا تقصر في نصرة هذا الغريب." Do not have shortcomings in supporting this lonely person, Al-Hussein ibn Ali. He said, لَأَنْعُمَنَّكِ عَيْنًا, rest assured I will make you proud. I will make you proud, Zainab. I will not let you down. We will fight with this man. We will fight with your brother, and we will sacrifice our lives before him. When Muslim ibn Awsaja fell on the battleground and he was about to die, he called for Imam Hussein. So Imam Hussein went to Muslim ibn Awsaja with Habib ibn Mudahir. Imam Hussein tells him, "Rahimallah, rahimakallah, ya Muhammad, inna laka al-jannah. Rahimakallah, ya Muslim, inna laka al-jannah." And then he recited this verse, من المؤمنين رجال صدقوا ما عاهدوا الله عليه فمنهم من قضى نحبه. Among the believers are those who fulfilled what they promised Allah. فمنهم من قضى نحبه, those who have fulfilled their promise and have sacrificed. And he pointed to Muslim ibn Awsaja. ومنهم من ينتظر, and those who wait to fulfill their promise. And he meant Habib ibn Mudahir. ومنهم من ينتظر وما بدلوا تبديلا. He recited this verse and he meant Muslim ibn Awsaja and Habib ibn Mudahir. And then Habib, he spoke to Muslim. He said, "Ya Muslim, if I knew that I were to live after you, I would ask you to say your will. Give me your will, your last wishes, if there's anything I could do for you. Although I know that I will depart and I will join you soon." Muslim looked at Habib and he said, "Na'am, I have a will. لا تقصر في نصرة هذا. Do not have shortcomings towards this man. Fight with him. Fight before him until you die before him." Muslim said, لَأَنْعُمَنَّكَ عَيْنًا, I will respect your wish. I will respect your will. Habib ibn Mudahir entered the battlefield and he fought bravely. This 75-year-old jurist fought bravely on the battleground. 2 enemy soldiers fought over who will kill Habib ibn Mudahir until they finally injured him. He fell on the ground. He shouted, "Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah." Imam Hussein alayhi salam rushed to him like he would rush to all of his soldiers, all of his companions. He found Habib ibn Mudahir in his final moments. He prayed for him. Habib ibn Mudahir departed. He left the Imam. The Imam carried him back to the camp next to the martyrs. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم. إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك العلي الأعظم الأعز الأجل الأكرم يا الله. اللهم لا تدع لنا ذنبا إلا غفرته، ولا هما إلا فرجته، ولا عيبا إلا سترته، ولا خوفا إلا آمنته، ولا رزقا إلا بسطته، ولا شملا إلا جمعته، ولا مرضا إلا شفيته، ولا غائبا إلا حفظته وأدنيته، ولا حاجة من حوائج الدنيا والآخرة لك فيها رضا ولنا فيها صلاح إلا قضيتها ويسرتها يا أرحم الراحمين. صلى الله على محمد وآله الطاهرين.